Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and all folks in between, and welcome to Aunt Millicent's Cooking Show. Hello, and welcome back to the show. Today, I'm going to be making an old family staple, and you've probably made different versions of this, but this is going to be the traditional spaghetti and meatballs. Now, most folks know how to do just spaghetti and marinara. That's pretty easy. If you don't, I can show you. And then the next step is to put a little meat in the meat sauce, if you're into that. And we dress it up a little bit. But I want to go ahead and make the full-blown Italian meatballs. And I think that they're going to be delicious, and y'all are going to love the recipe. So without further ado, let's apron up and let's get started. Okay, y'all, before we get into this, let's go over the ingredients. Now, we're making traditional spaghetti, so if you want to do the whole thing with the spaghetti sauce, by all means, go right ahead. That's a lot of work, and I'm just going to not. So I'm just going to use some standard spaghetti sauce in a jar, okay? Then I'm also going to I'm not going to make my own pasta. Obviously, I bought some pasta from the frozen aisle, and we're going to use this as our spaghetti, okay? So to make these meatballs, you're going to have about 2 pounds of ground beef. And this is a little bit more. Guess we like beef around here. It's cool. So get that, okay? Then the next thing you're going to have is some breadcrumbs. Now, they don't have to be, these are Italian style, but they don't have to be. If you have regular breadcrumbs, you can put some oregano and things in there. It'll be just fine, okay? But the breadcrumbs are the key, okay? So you got to get some breadcrumbs. You need some shredded Parmesan for the meatballs and to go on top of the spaghetti, of course. That makes it really good. And then finally, there's a few more things we need. We need 2 eggs. Ding. Okay. Next thing we're going to need is an onion. We're going to have to mince this up. Okay, so get yourself an onion. The next thing we're going to need is some minced garlic. Okay, and you can get this stuff right here that's already pre-done for you. You don't have to cut up your own garlic. It's fine. Okay. And then finally, the old standby, a salt and a pepper. Okay. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, y'all, we are ready to make our meatballs. I'm getting myself a big bowl, and I've placed 2 pounds of ground beef in here. I'll save you the visual of that. And we're going to have a full cup of breadcrumbs. Okay, so that has to go in here. Okay, so that just goes right there. And then grab your eggs and put the insides in there, carefully throwing the shells out. This is the base for our meatballs, and we have a couple more things to add. So let me pause for a second, and I'll be right back. Before we continue with the meatball, we're going to have to mince our onion, or dice, however thin you want your onion to be. That's what it's going to be. So, and you need about a half a cup of this. So this onion's got to go in our mixture too. Okay, so let me chop that up. Now that we've got our onion all chopped, let's put it in our mix. And I measured it out to about a half a cup, okay? And then I've got my half cup of Parmesan already measured out. That's got to go in there. The last couple of things we need are a whole teaspoon of minced garlic. I barely have that in here. That's a whole teaspoon. Pretty garlicky. And then the last 2 things we're going to need are some black pepper. And it says a teaspoon on my recipe, so that's what we're going to do. So let's fish that out. And 2. And then it says 2 tablespoons of salt. Okay, so let's do that. Now, when you get done with this, you're going to have to make little balls out of this. So that's always the fun part, right? So what I'm going to do is finish this up, and then I'm going to stir it up with a wooden spoon. And then I'm going to start making some meatballs. So let me get this going. And while you do that, you can turn your oven on to broil, because these little guys are going in the oven, okay? And we're going to have to make by hand, little meatballs. and we'll put them on a tray and bake them. So that's where we're headed. Okay, so let me come back. Okay, y'all, now that I've got my meatball mixture mixed up, get yourself a baking sheet and put yourself some aluminum foil on top of it and spray the aluminum foil down with cooking spray. We don't want these little guys to stick, okay? So we're gonna have to have a little bit of fun with our meatballs here. And you need to use your hands, okay? And you need to make these guys, they're saying about 3 ounces roughly. And another description I read said to make them about the size of an egg, okay? So if you can visualize that, I'm sure you can. Just take your little hands. Make sure to wash your hands too. I know where your hands have been, okay? So wash your hands before you do this. So, and we're going to just place them on our baking tray, okay, like this. And at the end of it, however many meatballs you have, that's just how many you have, okay? So my guess is anywhere from 10 to 16, maybe more. I don't know. Probably not 10, probably a lot more than that. So I'm just going to roll these guys out and we'll proceed. Okay, y'all, here we go. I got finished with all my little guys here. They're, I think there's 18. Some of mine are smaller than others, but that's plenty. So don't forget, turn your oven on broil, and we're going to leave them in there probably about 10 to 12 minutes, depends on your oven. Once we leave them in there for that, we're going to pull them out and flip them over so they get good and done on both sides. And then this is going to go into our marinade. Okay, so let's head to the stove. While your meatballs are in the oven, go ahead and get yourself a pretty large saucepan ready and start turning on the heat. And we're going to add our marinade to the pot. And you probably need a big one because there's a lot of meatballs in 2 pounds of meat. Okay, so don't get a teeny tiny one. You'll miss the room. Okay, and go ahead and get this nice and warmed up. Okay, over the next time you have it in there, 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, and when we pull these guys out, they're going to go in here. Okay. And you probably don't want to boil your noodles until a little later. Okay, so we'll get to that in just a minute. Okay, so hang loose. We are finished with the meatballs for now. I cooked them probably 10 minutes, then flipped them over, and then I cooked them another 5-ish. You can cook them till you think they're done. So now the next step is these guys are going to go into the big pot of marinara over there, and they're going to cook. The recipe that I read says to cook around an hour, and I think that's a lot of time. So let's just say cook them until you're hungry enough to eat. Let's leave it at that. Okay. So and while you do that, when I get those in there, what we're going to do is we're going to, at the end of the time we want to cook it, start making your noodles. Okay. So that can come. Just read the box. Okay. So I'm not going to walk through how to make the noodles. Just read what's on the side of whatever box of noodles you bought. Okay. So let's keep going and let's put these in our pot, okay? All right, here we are about 30 minutes in, and I have simmered these meatballs in the marinara, and I've started my noodle cook. Noodle boil. I'm at a loss for words over here because as soon as this thing is done over here, we're going to go and serve this. So meet me in the dining room in a few and we'll try one of these little meatballs, okay? Hey y'all, we made it to the dining hall and I'm ready to try one of these delectable meatballs. So let's dive right in, shall we? So I'll put one on my plate and let's see. I'm going to cut it. It's done all the way through. It's still steaming hot. Oh yeah, that's nice. Nice Italian flavor. Hearty, tastes like a meatball. You can really taste the Parmesan in there. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed making spaghetti and meatballs with me. And I do want to thank everyone for your likes, your subscribes, and your comments. And keep watching. I'll keep making these as long as I enjoy making them. And with that, I wish everyone a happy and healthy bon appetit.